Welcome to Nationalist Hub. I'm Suresh Kochattil. Today we have with us Colonel Umesh Gogte, retired, with us in the studios of Nationalist Hub. Colonel Gogte, as you are aware, did the first part with us on the series on women in armed forces in India. And of course, as we talked about in that episode, there were a number of issues that we brought forth. And to introduce Colonel Gogte once again, in his service of 22 years with the Indian Army, he has been associated with some of the most prestigious training establishments of the Indian Army, including the Indian Military Academy at Dehradun, the Electrical and Mechanical Engineering School at Vadodara, and the National Defence Academy at Pune. In his 22 years of service in the Army, Colonel Gogte has trained about 1,200 Army personnel. He took premature retirement in February 2007 and since then has been working as a professor in the Computer Science Department of the Keshav Memorial Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank
Namaste.
You.
Colonel Gogte, in the first part, I think you can just recap it first for us in the first few minutes as to what we talked about in the first part, and then of course we can get into part two of this very interesting discussion on the Nari Shakti, or the woman in the Indian Armed Forces. Please carry on, sir.
Yeah. Before that, I must say that I enjoyed the first part with you, and Suresh, you make me very comfortable.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. In the first part, basically we discussed about the gender equality, and Army has a predefined concept that what is right for a woman is right for humanity. Second thing which we discussed is the shortage in the armed forces. I said about 10,000 officers and 1.26 lakhs of jawans are shortage in the army. For that, and some places women have replaced, but it should not be taken that just to square the count, the women have been taken. They have proved their merit. They have passed all the required tests, mental and physical, and they are proving to be excellent. In whichever field they have been employed. So far, they have been employed in 9 arms and services, and they are doing a wonderful job. Can we proceed to the second part today?
Yes, sir. So before we get on to that, I would just like to recap. And when you talked about the first part, we started with the World War I and World War II, and you said how women played a crucial role in the German or the British forces at that time. When you look at the Indian Armed Forces, when you compare on not an apple-to-apple comparison, at least on a percentage terms, where do you think the leading army, I mean, we are the third largest army in the world?
Yes.
Yeah. So in terms of comparing with the top 5 armies in the world, the number of women in those countries, do we measure up to that in terms of percentages?
In terms of percentage, yes. But let me tell you that the US Army has, after the Afghan debacle, they have allowed women to go on the front. Means women are part of their fighting forces in US Army, and so also the British Army also have allowed women to be in the fighting force, in the front line. That is the area where we have not ventured, though artillery regiment, which is one of the fighting force, artillery regiment has started employing women in the artillery regiment.
So in fact, last episode, as we were ending it, you wanted to take one question to the second one, and that was about how men react to women in command. I mean, this especially happens in corporate life. It happens in every other sector, be it the movie industry, be it the media, or everywhere. But when Jawans, for example, they come from say rural hinterlands, their mother, of course, plays a very important role at home, but they are not accustomed to taking orders from women per se. And when they see an officer giving an order to them as a CEO or direct officer or whatever it is, do you think there is a kind of a situation where these orders are not taken in the right spirit?
Yes. If you dig into the history, Jhansi Ki Rani or Rani Channamma, they have been leading the forces, but traditionally our society is men-centric. In fact, men are socialized to be aggressive. You will agree with me that if कोई रोएगा तो बोलता है क्या औरत कैसी तैयार हो रहा है, और same is the case with women. घूंघट पहन के रखो, नीचे गर्दन रखो, all that. I mean, these are the social things which are there. So men are socialized to be aggressive. On the contrary, women by nature are kind, caring, and they tend to avoid conflict. These are some areas which obstruct in the job of a soldier. So that is one problem. The problem has to be looked as a problem. I mean, I'm not thinking that it is a negative factor, but if we know what is the problem, then we can work on it to solve the problem. So it is important to examine the problems if women join on the military armed forces. The first problem when the woman joins will happen if she gets married, because at the entry level, women are supposed to be unmarried. But as they progress in the service, somewhere they will get married. So the first problem will come after they get married. And the second problem, you will agree with me, will come during their pregnancy. Because 9 months of pregnancy we will expect that she will be given some easy roles. They will not be sent on a difficult terrain. And after pregnancy, for at least an year, the lady has to take rest. So these are two problem areas where we have to compromise if we take women in the army. So the third thing which we must think about, can the woman be sent in the combat role? I'll try to cite example of Rashtriya Rifles you must have heard about.
Yes.
These are the battalions which are generally deployed in Srinagar and Leh Ladakh sector. In Rashtriya Rifles, as you had rightly said, that women or the armed forces, every hour there is a challenge. Even if you are sleeping with a gun loaded. So if that is the level of difficulty which one has to face, then in the combat role can a lady be deployed? Because it requires high level of physical standard, at the same time high level of mental preparedness also. And if the Jawan or a male or a female officer, if she is not coming up to that, it will affect the morale of the unit. So as a result, if the moment they are in a difficult terrain, it's quite possible that they will have medical issues, and medical issues is a big hindrance in the operational area. Or if they cannot compete, more and more resignations will start coming in from the women's side. So having trained the lady for 1.5 years and subsequently in the particular area of specialization, again if she resigns after 10 years or 12 years, it's a big bloat. A
lot of costs are incurred in training. As I told you yesterday, that army has come from the society, and you will agree with me that most of the Jawans are from the rural background, and in the rural area is dominated by patriarchal society. So taking a order from a woman is considered to be an insult. In fact, when General Bipin Rawat and the other air chief and the naval chief, they had a meeting with Nirmala Sitharaman, the photograph, when it was circulated among the army and the navy and air force, the talk in the langar is our Jawan's mess. The talk in the langar is that औरत से command लेकर के हमारे को pass कर रहा है. So that is the mindset. So the majority of the male soldiers are from rural area. They find it difficult to take orders from the women. That is the reality. I mean, right or wrong, we are not debating on that. Let's put the facts on the table and then we can mitigate that. Now, as I was talking about the combat role, now army and wars, they are interconnected. And war is not a pleasant experience. It is not a safe place. By definition, it cannot be made safe. In this connection, I would like to cite an example of Second World War, when before Hiroshima, Nagasaki happened, every young boy and man in Japan had to move on the front.
In fact, even the women were sent on the front as far as Japanese forces are concerned. One photograph was quite popular in the army circles, particularly. A young boy, 8 years old. The soldier had lost his wife. He had one boy and a 2-year girl, his daughter. So he was stepping out of the house, handing over the 2-year girl to this 8-year boy. You take care of him. I'm going on war. And when Hiroshima, Nagasaki happened, this boy strapping his 2-year young sister, and he was walking on the road. That's the way it is.
I think that's a famous picture also that came out early in that when that bombing happened and people are fleeing for their lives.
Yes.
In fact, Colonel Gogte, when you speak of women in armed forces, quite often the allegations of Me Too also come up. It's not just in the army, by the way. It happens in every other field. Rightly or wrongly, again, somebody makes an accusation, and quite often, as our courts or our legal system would have it, the proof, the onus of the proof, obviously rests with the man to prove that he is innocent. The allegation is taken in all its seriousness. It has to be. And of course, there is an investigation followed. And if the thing is put false, it's fine. But the damage done is done. Do you think, in terms of mental maturity of a woman stepping into the armed forces, there has to be a kind of, they have to be told that this is a place where your annual confidential reports or whatever you want to call it in the army parlance counts a lot in your promotion. And every day of yours is counted in those records.
Yes.
So do you think those kind of instances have happened, and what is the solution for it?
Yes. See, I won't say that such things won't happen in the army. It have happened. Cases of this particular nature have taken place. Cases like he was giving me meaningful looks also have come in the way of very good officers who are making for the higher rank, but such allegations have put them down. But as I'll be covering in the next part also, whether there were women in the army or no, women have highest respect as far as the Army, Navy and Air Force is concerned. So if you compare such kind of cases with the armed forces vis-a-vis not armed forces, the cases are negligible. The cases are negligible. Officers are regimented. Now even Jawans are getting regimented to behave with the women with dignity.
Okay.
So that much of a difficulty is not there.
Yeah, in fact, the rough and tough life of army, for that matter, I mean, it might be a bit easier in the Navy, I guess so. I don't know, it might be. But in terms of army, I think there's a lot of physical proximity always when you are in the army, and these kind of instances do tend to be taken in another way. But when you look at a wife of an army officer or husband of a wife who wants to become the army, they all know the imminent danger that an army life poses, especially if you're in the forward postings and anything can happen. As you said, war is a kind of situation where, you know, you cannot even blame anybody for it.
Yes.
It's a messy affair.
Yes.
So do you think women are cut out for such, or men are cut out for such, where their wives go into the army and they know that she can be in danger one day, she can be taken as a prisoner of war? And what happens in cases of those Japanese army officers who treated the women badly?
Yes.
Then their prisoner of wars.
Yes.
We know the stories there. What is your take on this?
Yes. Prisoner of war is a very sorrowful state. And coming to the prisoner of war, as far as the women are concerned, violation of rules, though Geneva Conventions are well defined, but it can't be monitored. So violation of Geneva Conventions can't be monitored to the core. Though it is expected that it should be followed to the core. In 70 December actually, when the elections happened in Pakistan, that time it was East and West Pakistan. Out of 600 seats for their assembly, 325 seats were won by Awami League, which was dominated by the people in the eastern Pakistan, that time now Bangladesh. So Mujibur Rahman was definitely slated to become the Prime Minister. But as you know, Pakistan is generally dominated by the Punjabis. So Punjabis, they said that we cannot get ruled by a Bengali. So from 15th December 1970, the hatred towards Bengalis and the bad things which started, or criminal activities started in the present Bangladesh. 2 lakhs to 4 lakh women either were killed, brutalized or assaulted by the soldiers of the Pakistan army. I am coming to the prisoner of war, which the point which you have taken, that if the Pakistanis who do not respect their own women, if our women get into the prisoner of war, you can just imagine what will happen to them. So the one point which I said, that the problem in taking women in the combat zone, what are the difficulties which we can face?
In fact, if you look at that way also, in terms of what the Pakistan army did, at one point in time after the Bangladesh war, we had 90,000 POWs with us, but we let them go very honorably.
Yes.
But during the 71 war, on the other side, we lost a number of pilots whose remains have not been found even till date.
True.
So we know what the army is like. I mean, the Pakistan army is the least professional, I can say, of all of this, with all respect to their commanders and all. But when you look at a woman in a combat role, and you said rightly so, quite often the CEO is looked as a father figure in the army. I mean, Jawan would do anything for the CEO.
Yes.
Now, in such a scenario, when a woman leads, and we tackled this question before also,
yes,
what kind of qualities do you think she should be exhibiting? She should not be asking for any favors, isn't it? I mean, that's just because she's a woman, that she needs rest or whatever it is. I mean, she is equated with a man at the CEO role also. What do you think is the pluses and minuses there?
Yes. See, for the promotion to the higher rank, your combat experience or experience in the difficult terrain plays a crucial role. And now that women are even women have gone to CHN also. So they have rough weather experience, they have terrorist, counter-terrorism operation experience. So the men, as you rightly said, they take their CO as their either parent or their father or a fatherly figure, or they treat him like a god. A command coming from the commanding officer is taken as a gospel truth. And same thing happened when Colonel Babu had in Galwan. So his second in command, just the word that the CO Saab has got killed, the way the rest of the unit had gone and attacked Chinese, remarkable. So if the woman has to take this particular role, she has to exhibit that kind of confidence in the men that the command given by me should be obeyed. So this is the first batch of 9 officers have been given, or they have got clearance for commanding a unit. Now let's see, when they command the unit, some results will come out, and I'm sure something better will happen.
I'm sure that women have that element of a motherly figure. They have that empathy that they look upon. I mean, when they're in a family life too, I think that also rubs off when they are in the armed forces, isn't it?
True. Yeah.
Now, when you look at, we talked about the dangers all along here, but also this fact that some of these women who are presently now getting into the army lost their husbands, okay, or lost their brothers in some cases, and they decided that instead of sitting at home and wailing over what happened, I will also join the armed forces and show them what I can do. Do you think this is a good trend that is being set?
Very correct. We have coined a term called as Virnari. But before going to that particular, explaining that particular Virnari definition, you will agree with me that most of the gods or goddesses like Durga, Lakshmi, Parvati, when we see a woman, the man is ready to bow in front of her, touch the feet also. But when it comes to wife, sister or mother, a woman is treated as a woman. So this has to change. And this particular thing is not there in the army. When a woman is treated as a woman, you'll agree with me that a woman is put all of the burdens that you will not behave like this, you will not talk like this, the social pressures, the family pressures, the parental pressures are always more on the woman than compared to the man. You are not supposed to talk like this. You are not supposed to look like this. You are not supposed to put such kind of dresses, so on and so forth. In short, we are trying to crush the woman under the man's shoe. So this particular attitude has changed in the army since Britishers' days. A woman has been always respected with a lot of dignity. Reason being, a woman, when she decides to marry a serviceman, Army, Navy or Air Force, she knows that he is going to face, his husband is expected to face danger, maybe enemy or the nature, every hour, every day. But yet she decides to marry him. So that point is well taken in the army and well respected. So coming to this particular point of Virnari, who is called Virnari? The wife of a martyr, or in case he is not married, the mother of the martyr, we give her a special status called as Virnari. And otherwise also, traditionally, I'll just cite one example. Even if the field marshal come across a Jawan's wife, he will stand up and salute her. And that salute is not covering a formality. The salute for the respect that you, because you are there, your husband is able to face the difficult conditions.
The support system.
Yes. So in this connection, I would like to play a video in which the Pakistan Army, as you had just mentioned, that 93,000 Pakistani soldiers had surrendered to Indian Armed Forces on 16th December 1971. So the ceremony, which of course is a very demeaning ceremony, where a soldier is made to surrender.
But there was, as you rightly mentioned, and the one part of it is the POW that happened in Bangladesh that time. Rightly or wrongly, India could have bargained a part of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. We could have done that, but people say Indira Gandhi let them go just like that. I mean, rightly or wrongly, that was a decision taken by the political leadership at that time. But when you look at the Bangladesh wars, there's a famous photograph of General Niazi surrendering before General Arora, and that possibly is there everywhere, including the army headquarters. If you go there in Delhi, I've seen that there.
Yes.
That picture had something in it which many people didn't observe. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yes, very rightly so. The picture which is out in the civil is the picture where Niazi is signing and General Arora is there with all men behind him. But in the army circles, there is a picture where Mrs. Arora, her name is Sadani Bhagwant Kaur, she is also there in the picture. I'll just take 1 minute to tell the background about it. When on 10th or 11th of December 71, it was almost clear that Pakistan will be made to surrender. So Field Marshal Manekshaw and the staff officers had already started writing the surrender document. And when the 15th of December, the surrender was declared, and they were to surrender on 16th, Field Marshal Manekshaw told General Arora that you will take your wife for the surrender ceremony. So Sadani Bhagwant Kaur was flown to Dhaka on 15th December. There was, in the evening, there was a party in which General Niazi, the Pakistani, the highest senior most officer who was going to surrender, was also invited. So as the army mess etiquettes, General Niazi wished Mrs. Bhagwant Kaur, and they had some pleasantries. But when next day, when he saw at the place of surrender the lady over there, he was requesting General Arora, why are you making me surrender before the lady? And that's the time he said that you are seeing her as a lady, but we are seeing as a representative of all those women, that is the mothers and the wives who lost their husband oblique sons. She is the representative of that. So in the photograph, I can show it to the viewers. She was a very short lady, Mrs. Bhagwan Kaur, and she was trying to raise her level because you know services people are tall, and trying to peep over the shoulders of Navy and Air Force officer. So yeah,
that I think is that's a spectacular moment. Many youngsters who watching this telecast today would not have been even born then. They would have only heard it from their parents about what happened, how Bangladesh was liberated, the Mukti Bahinis and all that thing that happened out there. But more importantly is that pertinent role of the support system that an officer gets from home. That is very important. Even when he goes for a field posting, his wife is taken care of at home. There's an orderly or there's somebody going to the canteen and buying things for them. All this is taken care of. The children are sent to schools properly in a van or bus or whatever it is.
Yes.
But I think that's most important, Colonel Gogte, because you served for 22 years. You have seen it.
Yes.
But you were in the education sector, a bit away from, say, combat roles. But definitely, as we talk about, and when we go into part 3 of this particular episode, we'll get into more details of that. But do you think the changing facets of the Indian Army? Now, there is a romance. For example, when you talk of the Indian Air Force, you see women wearing those helmets, carrying those helmets and walking toward the fighter aircraft or walking away from the fighter aircraft, in the helicopters. In the Navy, of course, we see them on the deck of INS Vikrant or INS Virat. But do you think the Indian girls today, I mean, they have a choice. They have a plethora of choices. As much as we talked about men opting for comfy roles, I mean, comfortable roles. But women also today have changed, isn't it? That today's youngsters, you're talking of ones in their 19s and 20s,
yes,
have decided, okay, I'll write the exam, I will try for an NDA, and then, you know, maybe if I get through, I'll also go into. So they know what they're getting into.
Yes.
And the Sainik schools, as you rightly said, proved to be the kind of feeding ground for all this. Please elaborate.
Yes. But before that, I would like to cite one more example regarding the Virnari. And I must cite this because this is the first time in the world that we have employed somebody who was not fitting in the framework. Mrs. Ravinder Randhawa, Major Ravinder Randhawa, while countering the terrorist, he succumbed. And after about 4-5 months, Mrs. Ravinder Randhawa, his wife, she went to the army headquarters. In the army headquarters, we have a special cell for women. We call it AWA, that is Army Welfare Wives Association. Yeah. Fortunately, that time, I'm talking about 1998 episode, during that time, General Malik was the chief. And fortunately, Mrs. Malik, that is Ranjana Malik, she was in AWA office. So she said that I would like to talk to the president of AWA. And she was taken there and she introduced herself and said, my husband has given his life for the army. I don't want to live full life taking his pension. I want to get into his uniform. So the ladies over there were stunned. Just 3 months have passed. Husband has martyred. And this lady has got courage to get into the uniform of the officer. Mrs. Ranjana Malik, she consoled her. She said, well, I will talk to my husband who is the chief. She went home. She spoke to General Malik. General Malik asked, is she married? Yes. Is she on the family way? Yes. I said, there is no rule which can suggest that I can say yes to this lady. But however, because there is that passion, I'll take it to the Defense Ministry. And it was taken to the Defense Ministry, and Defense Ministry agreed. They said, we'll bend the rules. We'll change the rules.
We need to.
Yes. And Mrs. Randhawa was taken. But before taking, she was told that, see, if you qualify the Service Selection Board exam, and if you complete the training without any compromise, then only you will be taken. At the same time, Mrs. Malik told her, look, just because you are a lady, you will not be given soft postings. You will be treated at par with men. If you are mentally prepared for that, take a next step. And she got commissioned, and yes, that is the background.
So, Colonel Gogte, it is Wonderful speaking to you. I think we could go on and on about stories of what you were narrating just now, of brave women who decided to take the leap of faith into the armed forces. Part 2 of this episode is about all what Colonel Gogte spoke, and I think he has something more to add right now.
Yeah. In the honor of all the ladies who are in the services, I have written one poem, if you permit me.
Yes, sir, please read it out.
The title of this poem is Stri Prati Shabd Shakti Tu. तंदूर पर भूनेगी रोटी तू, युद्ध मैदान में झेलेगी गोली तू, पेट में पालेगी भ्रूण तू, विमान से चीरोगी आसमान तू, हृदय में पालोगी ममता तू, शत्रु का करेगी नाश तू, मातृभूमि की रखवाली माँ तू, सर्वोच्च बलिदान के पात्र तू, श्रीमती तू, सैनिक तू, शक्ति तू, शमशेर तू, पर्याय तू, परिवर्तन तू, पर्वत की शक्ति तू, सैनिकों की सेनापति तू, नौका की नौसैनिक तू, घर पर गृहिणी तू, रण क्षेत्र में झांसी की रानी तू, नारी तू, नारायण तू, नम्र तू, नटराज तू, दुर्गा तू, चामुंडी तू, भारत की नारी शक्ति तू, भारत की नारी शक्ति।
You write wonderfully well, and I think that conveys a string of emotions that come out when you narrate the poetry there. Colonel Gogte, wonderful speaking to you. Thank you for taking your time out from a very busy schedule. I know as a professor you have 101 things to do in your college, but I'm sure when you come back for part 3, we will expand this discussion further and get into some more nitty-gritties, yes, so that our viewers, especially the young women, as I told you, just out of college, don't want to get into something which they have seen their parents go through, which is very safe life, but they want to do something exciting, which is the Indian Armed Forces. And definitely there's a bright future for them, as Colonel Gogte was describing. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you, Colonel Gogte.
Thank you very much.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Please subscribe to Nationalist Hub English channel for more interesting videos, and don't forget to like and share this video. Nationalist Hub, it's a news revolution.